Well, new findings today shedding light on just how your tax dollars are being spent. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul's latest Oversight report showing $50 billion in federal funds are being squandered partially on things like converting an abandoned mental hospital into DHS headquarters, supporting green growth in Peru, and studying frog mating calls in Panama. Joining me now is Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show for the Daily Wire. And Michael, it's great to see you. Apparently, we have now given up on the treadmill, the shrimp on the treadmill, in favor of the Panamanian frog to the tune of about $463,000. It's a hit, but you say that's not the real problem in government spending.
Well, shrimp have gotten all the attention for all these years, and I've been saying it is about time we focus on the Panamanian frogs. Now, of course, this is funny, this is ridiculous, but it is not the real problem. You know, $50 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse is unfortunate, but big government always attracts a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. We have a $21 trillion economy, the largest national economy in the world, and it's been the largest national economy in the world for about 150 years. So we can take 400 grand for the frogs on the arm. What we cannot continue to spend on is our $4.1 trillion annual budget, which is running $800 billion budget deficits alongside $122 trillion of unfunded liabilities. These are the real issues, and neither party wants to deal with it. We spend the vast majority of our money, 68% or so, on entitlement programs and mandatory spending. Nobody, Republican or Democrat, really wants to get a handle on that. So certainly we should clean up waste, fraud, and abuse, but if we really want to get a handle on our fiscal situation, we have to go after those hard decisions, and we need to stop politicians from spending money that they don't have and from making promises that they have no intention of keeping.
Right, and Rand Paul kind of preaches about this a lot. I want to put his summer study, the numbers we had. We alluded to it a little earlier. Rand Paul's saying that, you know, improper Medicare payments of $48 billion, taxpayer dollars that are wasted on things like the Panamanian frog, $50 billion. And as you say, we were talking about a $4.1 trillion budget, but still, when people see a couple of $100 billion here and a couple of $100 billion here wasted, and you think, oh my goodness gracious, why is it we can't just say, okay, look, we need to save this year, we need to save $800 billion. It just doesn't work like that. The money just, despite the shrimp on the thing, and you see it on Reels all the time, it's on YouTube, nothing ever happens, nothing ever gets resolved.
That's right, because we can't really conceptualize numbers that are bigger than 1,000 or 10,000. So when we hear billion and we hear trillion, we don't really hear much of a difference. And what I love about Rand Paul's study is, one, he does talk about the real fiscal problems we have, but he so puts it into perspective, which is maybe we can't conceptualize $800 billion, but we can conceptualize $1 million or $2 million being spent to study lesbian obesity or shrimp on a treadmill or Panamanian frogs or, as we've seen, the Pakistani short film industry. And those of us who just go out and work for a living and we don't work for the federal government, we don't spend money to the tune of trillions of dollars. We think, gosh, look at what we could have done with $400,000 if we didn't send it straight to the Panamanian frogs. Where could we have spent that money here in our own country? And maybe we could have let the taxpayers keep it for themselves.
And I know you have these rants on your show. What's your biggest rant here? Because I look at this, Michael, and I think, well, you know, you read all of these studies and all of the information comes back and it says it's these liability programs we have, the entitlement programs we have. We can't build the Golden Gate Bridge. We can't send somebody to the moon anymore because we've got so many entitlement programs that we can't afford to send somebody to the moon as we did 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Of course, this is the problem of a culture of entitlement. You know, obviously, we pay into these programs. We pay into Social Security, we pay into Medicare, we pay into Medicaid. And yet, for a lot of millennials and Gen Z, we're looking down the road and we're saying these programs are not sustainable. So I'm paying money now into Social Security and Medicare that I'm simply not going to get. The money is not going to be there at the moment. And the awful incentive here is the politicians can spend the money now, and then they're out of office 10, 20 years before the bill comes due. So there is no incentive to get that fiscal house in order. And if Rand Paul can call attention to it by talking about the Panamanian frogs, I think that's very important. But unfortunately, we've gone from a culture of humility and gratitude and grit to a culture of entitlement and entitlement spending. So I'm not very optimistic that either party is going to take that situation seriously.
Right. And, Michael, you might get your Social Security, but somebody somewhere is going to have to pay for it at some point in time. Michael Knowles, it's always good to see you. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.